Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Online Warriors podcast. Welcome to the month of June. Actually, I think the last episode came out on June 1st. So, continuing the month of June, I'm Illeagle 86. I'm joined by Nerdbomber and Techtic. Steven is gone. He's not back this week. Steven, if you're listening, we miss you.
We miss you so much.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to these buffoons.
Speaking of buffoons, I hate to bring this up immediately on the jump or whatever, but what a floor wiping that quiz was last week.
Oh yeah,
I mean, you guys
brutal.
just got absolutely obliterated.
Guys, I have no faith in my ability to win a single trivia game from here on out. I don't know what happened to me. Like the last couple years, I was doing pretty well, and this year I think I just stink. I think my brain has just turned into mush. So here we are.
I just needed to make sure you lost. It was psychological warfare at best.
He just said losed, folks. This is the Online Warriors podcast. We all have college educations, and we are here to talk to you about movies, television, and technology. Literally, those three things are being discussed today. We're going to be talking about one of Nerdbomber's favorite movie franchises, because I think it's now a franchise. So we'll get into that.
But still just one of my favorite movies. I can't say that it's one of my favorite franchises, just the first movie.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
We're going to get into that. We're going to be talking about a long-running anthology TV series, which has has given us a trailer for its season 6. And we're going to be talking about the WWDC, which for the life of me, whenever I read it, I think like, what would Jesus do? But it's like, what would Don call?
What would DC Comics do?
So, something like that. I think it's a terrible acronym. Apple, I know you're a big deal and you're a big company, but you should change it. You should consider changing it. There's a lot to dive into there. Today, the day we're recording this, was I believe it was the first of 2 days of the WWDC, but today was like when all the juicy announcements happened. The biggest and most juicy was, well, let's just dive right into the WWDC right away.
Before we do, I just want to say, they really need to bring back Steve Jobs. My goodness.
He has passed away.
I know.
I just want to.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Okay.
I said what I said.
We'll get into why you feel that way. It may be the same thing that I'm feeling, which is the big announcement at WWDC. At what would DC Comics do? The Vision Pro mixed reality headset. Does it look good? I'm talking. Does it physically look like an attractive piece of technology? I want to start at that baseline level with this. All you got to do is look at a picture. Don't think about it. Does it look good or does it look stupid?
So, as far as headsets go,
just answer. I just want a plain old yes or no. Does it look stupid?
It's in a category of its own, right? As far as headsets go, it actually looks quite sleek. It does.
I think it looks.
I think you look like a nerd.
I think
you look like super cool wearing the Oculus Rift.
I don't have an Oculus Rift. I have a Meta Quest. Thank you very much. And I don't look cool. I fully acknowledge I look like a nerd. There is no way to make these things
That's what I'm
cool.
saying, though. Within the category of these AR or VR headsets, this one does look sleeker.
I absolutely disagree with that.
Was it the HoloLens? Was it Microsoft or was it Google when they had like the one that looked like a pair of glasses? And I know that's not
Google
like
Glass.
fully realized tech yet, but like that's what I want eventually. I want something that looks like that. Like I can pop on a pair of sunglasses, and I know that doesn't make sense from a technological perspective yet. Things aren't that tiny, but that is what I ideally would like, because right now this looks like Nerd Vision 2000, and I am a nerd. My name is Nerdbomber. I'm a nerd. And
to your point, like I think that when you're wearing a MetaQuest or an Oculus Rift or any of the VR headsets, you do look like invariably and inevitably you look like a little bit of a nerd. I think with this Vision Pro, you look even more like a nerd, and I honestly think a big reason why is the fact that it's clear or partially clear, because it looks like you went snorkeling and forgot to take your mask off. Or like you went skiing and forgot to take your mask off when you came inside. People are like, why are you still wearing that? And you're like, I think it looks cool. That's what it looks like to me. I know that's a weird way to feel about it, but look, this thing is like super advanced, a lot of technology behind it. It's, again, mixed reality, which is kind of the thing these days. It can do virtual reality. It can do augmented reality. There's a whole new software setup for this. I cannot remember the name of it. Vision OS. Thank you, article, for telling me, is Apple's new VR operating system. It looks very souped up. It looks very cool from the images that we've seen.
What's kind of funny about it is it appears like Apple is doing Apple. And the reason why I say that is you guys are talking about, oh, it's got all this new technology, it's got all this, but just 2 seconds ago, all y'all said, well, there's this that does this, and Google has that. This is an Android iPhone situation too, and they're following suit in the same vein with this beautiful price tag for the low price of over $3,000.
Yeah, I was getting to this. $3,500 for the Vision Pro. Pass. I'm gonna pass on that.
See, I don't know. Is this intended though for people like us? I feel like this is one of those things.
It can't be.
Yeah, it's got to be much like the Microsoft HoloLens, where their primary market is for industry. Like, this can't be for the normal person, because I can't see the normal person shelling out this much money when you have stuff like the Meta Quest at a lower price point that isn't getting a huge adoption rate.
No, they are literally selling this to Apple snobs. It's not corporations. It's Apple snobs. And there is a subsect of people that when the Apple, what was it called? The iMac? The desktop?
The iMac, yes.
Yeah. When that came out and it was like not that much better than a regular computer, and it was thousands of dollars when that first came out, people went nuts. They went absolutely nuts.
Right, but the difference is that's like a standard computer platform. Like, you can do things with other people. Like this, if there's not a high adoption rate...
Well, you can still do things with other people. This is a computer. This is a head computer.
I understand, but like, where are you going to use it then? I guess. If it's not common, like, you're not going to be chilling in your living room with this on then. Like, that's not going to be how you use your computer. And if it doesn't have a great adoption rate, like, I'm just looking back at all of the failed devices from other companies, and I know Apple is a little bit better, maybe. Someone fact check me on this, but I feel like they're a little bit better with supporting their endeavors than other companies. Looking at you, Microsoft, soon. It was still a great device. But like, if there's not a high adoption rate, it won't be supported for that long. So it's not like a computer where it's a standard kind of technology. It's just getting outdated. Like, this is going to require different firmware and hardware updates to maintain its relevancy. And if not a lot of people are buying it, it's going to become obsolete very soon.
It's worth noting that Apple also announced a Mac Pro that costs $7,000. Who is
buying these? I need to know.
Who's at Online Warriors 1, at Illeagle 86, at Techtic, at Nerdbomber. Tell us, who is buying $7,000?
I mean, if you
listen to this podcast and you are buying a $7,000 computer, tell me what you do.
Looking at the price of the iPhone, like, Apple does not have a feel for what it's
Stop. The iPhone is reasonable. It's in the realm of other phone prices. Like, I'm sorry.
You can get Android phones for significantly cheap.
I'm sure you can, but that's not the point. The point is, I don't even know if it's relative to other.
Yeah, but you're not going to pay $7,000.
I mean, for a computer, you will probably pay close to $7,000, or you'll be on a payment plan, so you're not feeling it.
You're going to pay closer to $10,000 because they're going to get you on a low payment plan.
But I think my thing here is, so I understand maybe like music studios, video editors. Like, I know that the Apple ecosystem, like, that is a clear advantage. You know, they do movie editing, video editing, audio editing, all very, very well. However, you can't tell me that you couldn't get like a crazy, insane PC. And I know this goes to now like Apple versus PC, like Mac versus PC, the age-old argument. But for $7,000, you can get a hell of a PC. Like, I don't understand.
Yes, true. I don't want to like rail on Apple here, because I think they did it out. We're going to get to other things that they announced that I think look very cool and much more accessible. But like, I don't understand. And you know, part of it too is they treat it like this big reveal. This is a Vision Pro headset that costs $3,500. It's available next year, and I'm like, well, not for me. Not for most of the people who are watching this. You know, like, if it's a new iPhone, then so many people are like, I will put down $800 for a new iPhone because I've had my phone for however long and I'm ready for an upgrade. And I think it's a purchase you can much more readily justify, considering how often people use their phones. A Vision Pro headset for $3,500, no one is doing that. Like you said, maybe companies or like tech bros, but like, the average person's not doing it, so why is it exciting? Is my
the other thing worth noting
question.
Too is that we're not alone in this questioning. When this was announced, their stock price literally just tanked, which like there's something to be said about that. Yeah, well, yeah.
I did not know that. I do think, and Nerdbomber and I have talked about this at length. Well, actually, are all three of us
No,
iPhone
he's
users?
an
I believe
Android guy.
That's why
Techtic
I'm
is an
calling you
Android
guys
user.
out.
We've talked for a hot minute about iPhone. We're thinking because of like laws that have been passed that the new iPhone will
Dude,
need
I'm
to have
so
a
excited about
USB-C.
that.
I would have loved to see. I know they typically do their new phone announcements in like October or whatever, but I was hoping to see something about that. Didn't see a thing about that. Instead, we saw like $7,000
Like, I feel like
computers.
is the WWDC, and historically, because I feel like the iPhone and more accessible consumer products have their own showcase, like you said, more towards the fall. Is this like the
October,
loftier
typically,
side of their tech and development?
It's the developers
So,
conference.
yes.
So it's supposed to be for people who is like this is their life, I think. Nevertheless, I still think it's a little silly. So let's talk about we talk about my favorite thing that I saw. Silly thing, many could argue. iOS 17 was announced, and among many things, standby display mode, which is basically just it turns your phone screen into a smart home like display, tilts it horizontally while you're charging it, so it displays time and date, things like that. This is like that's what I do every night with my phone. I put it on a charging stand, and if I can get rid of an alarm clock and have my phone be the alarm clock
Hold on.
in an easy and
You don't
seamless way.
use your phone as an alarm clock.
I do use my phone as an alarm clock, but I don't use it as a clock that is always on. So I think that's it was a really low hanging fruit for them to pick, and I'm very in favor of that. I think in general, the iOS 17 stuff that they announced was the stuff that interested me the most. Journal, a new app
I'm
for
excited
iOS.
about that as well. Basically, iPhone upgrades.
It looks like it looks like a hypercharged Notes app, which I use my Notes app, I don't know, literally every day. So again, I think it's a low hanging fruit. They can take a piece of iPhone that everyone uses and be like, we're going to actually address this, and we know that everyone uses this, and it's an important component of the iPhone. And I think it's arguably silly to say those are important components of the iPhone, but again, it's people use that sort of thing every day. People use the Notes app every day. How many Twitter apologies? How many Twitter apologies have been posted using the Notes app? That alone should justify.
Well, I mean, not even that. And I don't know about you guys, but I have tried like journaling apps, and I'm not even talking about like Notes apps. Like there are apps out there that exist to track like your mood and stuff. And I think
dream journaling also. Just throwing that out there.
And I think what makes me happy about Apple kind of bringing this in-house is not that I don't trust third-party apps, but there's always the issue of third-party apps potentially leaking your data or getting hacked or whatever. And Apple, it does have a really good track record, I'm sorry, with keeping your data private. And especially with their focus on keeping health data private, I'm kind of hoping that some of this stuff, like especially if you're tracking your mood and whatnot, I'm hoping that kind of falls into their like health data privacy lockdown sort of campaign that they're doing, because I would much rather use a first party app that I don't have to worry about, like who owns this? Where is my data going?
And no ads.
And no ads.
And yeah, like I was going to say like microtransactions, with the exception of like them always being like, you need to buy more cloud space. And I'm like, no. Like when you have an Apple app as opposed to a third party app, you're not going to get microtransacted, or at least it seems like more of a certainty. So I agree. I think it's a really good thing for us iPhone plebeians.
I also like that they're...
Techtic, you can just take a seat in the corner, because I know you're not really
one of
into
the
this,
other
but
iPhone
it's a big deal.
things that they're adding to another upgrade is, I think it was called like name sharing, where now if you want to share phone numbers with other iPhone users, you can just basically bring your phone together and name drop. Yeah, kind of like airdropping.
Yeah.
Which, did you know, first of all, that's really useful. But also, did you know, and I did not realize that the iPhone did this, and this is just like a tangential experience, but you can actually drop Wi-Fi passwords to people around you. So like, I didn't realize that was a thing you could do.
I've done this
and
in
I
life.
just learned that. I was actually at the hair salon getting my hair did, and I was like, hey, do you have a Wi-Fi password? And my hairstylist was like, I got you. I'm gonna drop you the Wi-Fi password. And I was like, you can do what now? And it was great.
Yeah, it's super convenient. While we're on the subject of iPhone features, check-in is a new feature. You can share your location with someone. So the example that I saw used was if you're on a long drive and you want to notify someone when you've arrived safely. This is a feature. I don't know if it's an app or what it is, but it'll basically
And that's
do that
fantastic, because I always tell my mom I'm going to let her know when I get home safely, and then I forget.
Yeah. And as someone who, and we've talked about this off the air, but my wife and I track each other with our phones. I recommend it. That's my tip for this week. Track your wife with your phone and let her track you. It's not creepy. It's not like she's not keeping tabs on me. It's just like, oh, I wonder where he is. That's all it is. And it's useful to know where they are. Check-in is like basically just formalizing that in a way. So.
And this is not an iPhone upgrade, but this is more for AirPods. And I'm really excited about this. So there's a new adaptive audio upgrade that'll also be rolling out for existing AirPods, which helps you kind of mix and blend transparency mode. So now you can like adjust if you hear outside noise more often in your music. I don't know if any of you have other headphones that have transparency mode, but my Anchors, much love to the Anchor gang.
Yeah.
My Anchors have them and it's great.
My Anchor, it's total offshoot. I don't know if this has happened to you because I think we have the same headphones. Shout out to the Soundcore. Well, I have the Tune Life XRs, but I think they're basically exactly.
Yeah, I think it's just like yours is the Best Buy brand or something.
Yeah, shout out to Best Buy. I'm wearing them too hard. One of my earphones, the foam is like coming out.
Oh,
have you experienced this?
I have not. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Are you like clamping it against your
Anchor.
head? Like, what's happening?
I don't. And again, this is total conversational offshoot, but I think it might be because of the size of my head.
Oh, you have a
those who
very
don't
big
know,
head.
I have a very large head, so I think that plays a role. I use them literally every single day for like over 8 hours a day. So I think just the on and offing of them, a tiny rip happened at some point. Now it's just expanding and expanding. I'm gonna have to like replace the ear cups on them. But yes, the transparency mode on them is like, I never use it. I never use
Really?
that, by the way. I don't think I ever use the noise. I don't even use noise canceling on it. I just use normal.
See, I find it very helpful, more so in the office. I don't wear them when I'm out and about. Like if I'm walking through the city, I'm not going to have my headphones on because I'm just too paranoid. Like I don't want to be distracted. I want to hear my surroundings. But in an office setting, especially like open concept, there's a lot of din. So I have transparency mode on, kind of like on all the time in the background, very low. So I can just kind of hear what's going on around me. And if someone starts talking to me, I can choose to turn around or not. I mean, sometimes we've all played that game where we know someone's behind us, but we're like, I have my headphones on.
You are going to think this is weird, but I'm committing to it.
Are you a one-ear guy?
Do you? And I'm not a one-ear guy. Techtic, you can chime in if you've ever done this too. Do you ever go into radar mode where you have your headphones on, but you're not listening to anything and you're just listening to around you to see if
for sure.
Yeah, I do that. I don't know, once or twice a week probably.
I call that live action.
Know what the scuttlebutt is.
Mode.
Right. So instead of transparency, I just
the
do
nice
that
thing.
And then, like you said, people are like talking about me, or they like ask me something, and I pretend I can't hear them.
A very clutch situation. So I don't know if you guys sync your music to like your laptop or whatever if you're on your phone, but if you're on your laptop, get yourself a wireless keyboard that has a very like inconspicuous play pause button. So then you don't have to pull anything up and make like a show of pausing it. You can like hit play pause and it pauses stuff, and then you look like you're still jamming to music and like you can't. You
just do the ear scratch if your headphone has buttons on it.
I'm so far ahead of you guys on this. I mean, not that I'm doing anything different than that, but I've used both of those techniques. It's just good sense.
Good sense.
Getting back to the Worldwide Developers Conference, though, the other thing that came up, well, there were a number of things. I don't know if we're gonna have time to get to all of it, but another one of the big things that came up is that they're starting to, it seems like, try a little bit more aggressively to be for gamers. If that makes Death Stranding, guys. Death Stranding is coming to, that was like a big announcement. Death Stranding is coming to Mac OS. There's a game mode that was introduced for Mac OS that will prioritize the GPU and the CPU while gaming on a Mac. I'm not sure I understand this one. I don't know how big the gamer community on Mac is. I think it's pretty small, but they may see it as a potential market.
I mean, Steam plays pretty well
power to them
on Mac devices. It's no different in my opinion. I've had both and it works fine, but I don't really understand, operator specific. And I just, it to me, it all feels gimmicky. Apple sucks, Android for life.
Okay. That's just like your opinion. There were other things mentioned here. FaceTime coming to Apple TV, some watchOS stuff that frankly I'm not as interested in. So I'm not going to
FaceTime coming to Apple TV, in my opinion, was the coolest thing. I've always kind of wondered, where are we with this Jetsons life, right? Where the television just, now you're talking to your family. Or Jetson, you know what I'm talking about. And like that was exciting to me. Everything else
just aged the podcast horribly, but I agree with your point. Again, that seems like a lot of the stuff I did, and again, I'm not trying to crap on Apple, but a lot of it as I've kind of already mentioned, I heard it and I was like, well, yeah, of course. Why weren't you already doing that? And I think FaceTime on Apple TV was one of those things where I was just like, yeah, this just makes sense. You should have been doing this before. Oh, but it's good they're doing it now. Nerdbomber, anything else you want to hit from the what would DC Comics do before we move on? I mean, I think I hit the high points.
Yeah,
There's a new MacBook Air, but like whatever.
You covered a lot of the good stuff. My focus was mostly on like the iPhone stuff because much like you, I'm waiting for the new one because I need one.
And that's the day-to-day product.
They're also rolling out a line of robots. The code name for this line of robots are called Rosies.
It's not true.
Jetsons.
Oh, I was hunting for the joke there. I'm not up on my Hanna-Barbera 1980s. Was that when the Jetsons was on, the 1980s?
It aired officially in 1962.
I wasn't even close. Shout out to Rosie from the Jetsons. Let's talk about Hocus Pocus 3. So, well, okay, the story here. Hocus Pocus 3 is now officially in development. Before cutting to the chase here, it is not yet clear who is involved in Hocus Pocus 3, but, and we're going to go to spoiler town here. I'll aboard the train to spoiler town. If you haven't seen Hocus Pocus 2 and you're looking to watch it before listening to this, it would be weird if you watched it in like June, I feel like, but I mean, do what feels right. Also, maybe watch it before Disney Plus takes a bunch of stuff off their streaming service, because that's kind of what they're doing right now. Anyways, the Sanderson sisters at the end of Hocus Pocus 2 kind of died. Now, granted, they kind of died at the end of the first one, but it felt like they died harder.
Yeah, it was like
it
felt 2. More like a permadeath. However,
and it was like nice. It was like a, you know what I mean? Like it was like, I'm gonna go be with my sisters.
Yeah.
Yes. It felt more like less of a like I'll get you kids one day, and more of like this is the right place for us. And now that's being undone.
Yeah,
something that happened in the after credits that I pointed out at the time, and I think both of you may have scoffed at me, but
I didn't watch the after credits.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, there was a second black flame candle, and I brought that up, and I was like...
Well, I scoffed because and I said this when we talked about it too, if they bring them back, it literally just ruins the heartfelt ending and just devalues.
Doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Hear me out. So this is what I predict is going to happen, right? So for those of you who, haven't watched Hocus Pocus 2 in a while, I also haven't, but I remember enough about the story to kind of summarize. They basically go off into the ether to be sisters and like dissolve together and be done forever. But Hocus Pocus 2 also introduced like a new set of not quite sisters.
The mother witch, Hannah Waddingham.
Right, but also the young girls.
Yeah.
And they also introduced then Hannah Waddingham's character, who is the mother witch. And what I think is going to happen is that the mother witch is going to be kind of like an evil character potentially. And the Sanderson sisters will have to be brought back because let's be real, no one's going to watch
Hocus guys.
Yes, as good guys to help the new girls, because no one's going to watch a movie about 3 young girl witches. Like, no one wants to see that under the moniker of Hocus Pocus. I don't care how much you love Hannah Waddingham, and I do, but I would not watch that movie.
Counterpoint. Well, I agree with some of what you said. First of all, 100%, I'd bet the house Hannah Waddingham is going to be in Hocus Pocus 3. I would imagine the Sanderson sisters will come back, but I think that's less of a certainty than Hannah Waddingham coming back. I think she's a sure thing coming back.
But then why have the black flame candle? There's no reason to show that again.
They did not know what the third one was going to be about when they put that in there. They put that in there when they were just fishing for a sequel. They don't know.
But
They're
think
just like, this is a random thing we're going to put in.
All 3 of the main witches, I think, already said that they would be open to coming back for a third one.
Okay, there's so many things that I need to interject. One, Hannah Waddingham is going to be a fantastic, just dark, badass witch. Love her. I will watch that if the Sanderson sisters are not in it. Okay, so
right, but the majority of the movie is going to focus on 3 young teen witches.
Yeah.
And to me, that's not fun. Like, Hannah Waddingham will probably be in it for like all of like 15 minutes total screen time. I'm not watching a whole movie for that.
But I mean, Hocus Pocus was mainly the 3 witches.
Yeah, but they were Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker and Kathy and Jimmy.
What if, and hear me out, what if the black flame candle is there because now she's trying to bring back her sisters? Remember the whole story was surrounding her losing her sisters?
Okay.
Let me explain something to both of you. Explain something to both of you about Disney, because it seems like both of you don't understand it. Nerdbomber, you specifically used the phrase, no one's going to want that, in reference to a sequel with 3 teenage witches. Do you know what Disney executives don't know and seem to never know.
What people want.
It's what people want. So if anything, that just makes me bet on that being what happens.
But
they're gonna be like, this is great, reboot, and like it's gonna suck.
Here's the thing though. So one of the reasons why Hocus Pocus became a cult classic, beyond just the fact that it's a good movie, because I fell in love with it for what it was, but it became bigger than that. Like the Sanderson sisters became kind of like a cult icon, right? You have people dressing up like Winifred Sanderson, a lot of big like watch parties, parades. They became iconic characters. And I think they were a huge reason why people watched Hocus Pocus 2. And it did draw in a lot of viewers. I don't know if it broke streaming records, but I remember it performed very, very well for them.
I remember it almost broke the app.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
You cannot, like, if you want the viewership, you cannot not have Bette Midler. I'm sorry, you just can't. You have to have Winifred Sanderson. She is too iconic. It's not a Hocus Pocus movie.
But why can't you have new iconic witches?
Because nobody is showing up for that, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. People are literally only watched Hocus Pocus 2 because of Winifred Sanderson. And I think Disney does know that to a degree because
they absolutely do not. They do not know
they
that.
rolled out the red carpet and had all of those like anniversary celebrations out in, I forgot what cemetery it was, out in like LA or Hollywood or whatever. They absolutely do recognize what they have on their hands here.
Name 2 super hyped female actresses right now. And I guarantee you, if they advertise that in the like trailer, there will be hype for it. Tina Fey would be an awesome sister witch. I'm just saying.
I think I agree with Nerdbomber that it's critically important. Like the Sanderson sisters, they fill this weird niche of like, I don't want to call them anti-heroes because that feels too like dramatic, but like, yes, they are bad guys in both of these movies. They are the villains,
but they're the villains love to love.
They never really feel like villains,
and
right?
I'm not saying they're replaceable. I want to be clear here. The Sanderson sisters will always be peak, okay, but you can definitely draw a crowd other ways,
right? But I just think that they won't, especially with the state of streaming and things now. Like Disney is removing stuff off of their apps. I don't think they're going to dump a bunch of money into something that doesn't have guaranteed payoff. And you stick Bette Midler in there and it's guaranteed. I don't care how well Ted Lasso did. Like Hannah Waddingham just isn't enough.
You answered your own question. You said they're not going to dump a bunch of money into it to not get a guaranteed payoff. You're right. They won't. They're going to dump very little money into it and it's going to tank. Like I don't know. I have no faith in Disney to do this right. We just like at this point, their track record, especially on Disney Plus, is bad enough that I just don't believe in this. It'd be nice if it went well. In particular for Hannah Waddingham, I think it'd be great if it went well. But I just like I don't trust them.
I'm like weirdly optimistic. And Disney has not given me reason with Disney Plus to be that optimistic, especially after we learned that like WandaVision was not even like clued into the broader scale of what they were doing with the movies. Like that alone kind of made me shake my head a little bit and be like, what are they doing? But Hocus Pocus is just like, you can't mess it up. It's so easy. Like it doesn't even have to be good. Think about Hocus Pocus 2. It wasn't even really that good, but because you had your 3 main witches back, man.
All right.
They were great. I think my prediction is exactly what I said. They're going to come back as the good witches. I think it'll still end up heartwarming. Like they're going to convert Hannah Waddingham to like being a good witch with them and they'll all go out into the ether to meet their sisters. But I also want to see OG Binks, and I don't know how that would work because technically he is like also at peace and at rest and like permadead. But also give me Max Dennison. Where is that guy? I know he's not doing anything in real life. Like, he's not an actor. He doesn't have other, like, acting obligations, I don't think. If you have a day job actor who plays Max Dennison, Omri Katz, like...
Doesn't even have a real name.
No, his name is Omri Katz. But, like, put it on hold. Show up for, like, half an hour. Make this movie. I know that's not how movies work, but, like, you need to be in this.
Can you guys just do me a favor? Because, like, in my head is just going nuts with this alternative story where the Sanderson sisters aren't in there. If you can pick 3 alternative witches, what is their personality type and what actresses are playing them? For me, it's Hannah Waddingham as the badass evil witch, Tina Fey as like a nerdy witch, and then the third one has to be like this cool girl kind of style, like chewing bubblegum and leaning against a building. Those are the 3 personality tropes that I think they need to have. And the actress, I can't come up with for that one. But what do you guys got?
I don't know if they need a cool girl. I mean, I think your badass main witch is the cool girl.
No, that's
I think
evil.
You need an Amy Poehler. I mean, if you have Tina Fey, like, come on, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler. There you go.
But I don't want to just because then she's going to fall into the ditz role, and I don't want that for her. She could do cool.
Salma Hayek. Salma Hayek as the feisty witch. That's all I got. If they're gonna go, I think the reason I feel that way is if they're gonna go away from the Sanderson sisters, if they're gonna go in a different direction, they need to go in a very different direction. Otherwise, it's gonna look like they couldn't get the Sanderson sisters and they're just trying to like make new ones. And I think that looks bad.
I like that. I like that trio. I'm all in for that trio.
Then I don't know if Tina Fey works though. Tina Fey just feels like a different tier than Hannah Waddingham and Salma Hayek somehow. And I can't really place why, but she doesn't like fit their larger than lifeness. Because I feel like both of those actresses can play larger than life characters. And I feel like Tina Fey plays like the every woman in a lot of her roles. It's just like her archetype. I
need to emphasize again that in the Disney content factory, in the Disney Plus meatpacking plant, they're just trying to churn stuff out. If someone gets a finger cut off and it goes into the tin of beans, they don't care. We're already thinking so much harder about this than they will ever think about it.
What I am also surprised at, and I have this idea for a Hocus Pocus, I don't want to call it a multiverse, but they also could have done a series of shorts, like maybe a 6-episode run of what Binks got up to before Max Dennison lit the Black Flame candle. Like, what did he do for like 200 years? I want to see that. That would have been such a great show.
Just vibes. In the sewer.
Just vibes.
Well, no, I like to imagine like he had like various friends and family over 200 years. I wanted to see that. I think that would be a good show. I think Disney should do that. Adventures of Binks, make it happen. Hit me up after the writer's strike because we support our writers.
They're too busy pulling things off of Disney Plus to make that. Yeah, no release date or anything announced for this. I have to imagine, is quite a while off. They're probably already talking to Kathy Najimy and Bette Midler and Sarah Jessica Parker, but for right now, we don't really know anything. The three of them said they would come back.
Olivia Wilde instead of Tina Fey.
Why would you not come back if you were any of them?
Yeah, maybe.
We'll see. But that's the gist of Hocus Pocus 3. More details TBD. We're going to take a short break now before coming back to talk about Black Mirror Season 6. But before we do, Mr. Stephen Keller, the pleasure was ours to have you last week on the show. Your armor was very shiny, and we tried to, get through it, but it was too strong because you are too noble and valiant, etc. You are a knight. Stephen's a knight. Stephen supports us at the highest of our 3 levels of support on Patreon. He is a knight. As a result, he gets his producer shout out every week. He gets access to the monthly secret segment and the vlog. He gets input into the weekly game segment. I may have already said that. And he gets to, have the occasional guest spot with us on the show as well. You want to be like Stephen. You want to be a knight. If you can't be a knight, if you're not quite noble enough, there is a squire level of support on Patreon. It gets you access to the monthly secret segment and vlog. And there's a page level which gets you access to the monthly secret segment. All the details on all of those levels of support can be found over at patreon.com/Online Warriors Podcast. Thanks again to Stephen. We're going to take a short break right now, and we'll come back to talk about Black Mirror Season 6.
I'm Harrison.
I'm Jordan.
Well, I'm Harrison.
I'm fucking Jordan.
All right!
And we're the Grief Rio Podcast. Let us be your unnatural Sherpa guides on this existential plane of mountainous game and movie exploration.
And don't forget about that spookiness that lives within us all, but mainly in you spooky bitch.
How dare I'm offended?
We've been voted the best podcast to listen to by many.
By many, that means a few. That's more than one.
Results may vary. We'll see you on the next episode of Grief
Burrito. Yeah!
All right, Black Mirror Season 6. You guys know about Black Mirror. It's that show that makes you feel bad about life. I think that, so we're going to talk about this Season 6 trailer. I will say right now, I have not watched any Black Mirror since Season 4, I believe, is the last season that I watched. And I didn't even watch all of Season 4, but I watched some of it. Black Mirror is doing what I think is something smart. And they, I guess, have been doing this maybe the whole way, but they're now marketing it as a series of, they called them films, I believe, in the trailer, or movies, or whatever the word may be. Black Mirror is not a show you can binge. It's not even close. You basically watch one and you're like, I need to rethink my life. So to package them as individual experiences and basically say there's 6 different movies you can watch, I think that's a freeing... one of the reasons I want to talk about this is because I think I might go and just watched the third episode, quote unquote episode, where there's two guys on a spaceship and one of them is Josh Hartnett and the other one is Aaron Paul. Like, I saw that and I was like, I'm in. I don't even care what the rest of this is. I want to watch that.
You're not interested in seeing a little bit of Alexis?
Not really. That one looked interesting. I wanna understand that one more. And that's the first one that's coming out, by the way. These are all coming out, I think, all at once on June 15th. So if you wanted to, you could binge them. Again, I think that would be unhealthy and unwise to do. But the other one there was one that they billed as quote unquote Red Mirror, which I think is them saying that it's like bloody and horror and scary, which was, I think, the sixth one that's in the list. It's called
the one
Demon
like the
79.
Demon.
So yeah,
They were just 10 away.
I think that Black Mirror is, in as much as I haven't watched it, I didn't watch any of season 5. Like, that's a regret that I have, because I think that it's really, really cool prestige television, because you get episodes where people like, I don't know the girl who played Alexis, but then like Aaron Paul, Josh Hartnett, like these days, especially in an episode of Black Mirror, you're probably going to see someone who you're like, oh wow, that person's in this. That's so cool. And I just think it's such a cool premise, and I hope this show goes forever, even though it makes me sad all the time.
I mean, it has to go forever. It's modern day Twilight Zone. I've said this before, I'll say it again, and Twilight Zone went on forever. It's this kind of genre or subgenre of film is just such a roller coaster, twisty set that just appeals to the human psyche. It absolutely does. And seeing like the Netflix series or the set, what do they call it? Setflix or something? Within that
series?
Yeah,
I can't think what it's called, but I know you're talking about.
It began with an S, but like that was so good. And I just from that alone, I was like, oh man, I got to get caught up, because I've only seen the first season and I don't even remember why I fell off. It was just kind of like inundated with all these other shows and things, and I just kind of, you got to be in a mood to watch Black Mirror, and sometimes I'm not always there, but man, is it good television.
So I'm looking back, and I actually did watch one of the episodes in season 5. It was the Miley Cyrus episode. I'm just throwing that out there. So, and yeah, season 4, I watched the USS Callister episode. So even, yeah, with the past seasons I've gone through, and I've kind of like hand selected specific episodes to watch and haven't watched all of them. But I think, again, that's one of the things that's great about Black Mirror, is that I think it's very okay to do that. They're all disconnected and they have, very tenuous connections within a single universe, but those don't really matter. And also, I want to make mention of Bandersnatch, which I know I talked about when I did it in my What Are You Up To Wednesday on the show like 2 years ago or whenever it came out. But that was the interactive choose your own adventure style Black Mirror episode, and it was awesome. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot more to say about this. I wanted to mention it because I think Black Mirror is just a really, really cool concept for a show, and like I said, I kind of hope it goes on forever. Nerdbomber, is Black Mirror, like, it's not scary, but
we watched,
I feel like it's not your bag.
The pig episode.
Well, the pig episode is, I mean, yes, it is the first episode of the show, like, period. It's a brutal place to jump in to this show.
Yeah, that kind of turned me off a little bit. I think we watched that one and I was just like, I don't know if I am in the headspace for this. Because I believe we tried to watch it like during the height of COVID lockdown, like March 2020, looking for stuff to watch. And I was just like, yeah, this is not a good thing for me to be watching right now. But you guys, you do you. I liked The Twilight Zone though. Like, I was a huge fan of The Twilight Zone and like weird, quirky stuff like that. So I think it's probably like episode by episode basis. The stuff that is super scary, I can't get behind. Like, you guys know me. That's just not my stuff. But I think some of the more like psychological, twisty, interesting out there things I could get behind. And at some point I will catch up and I will watch them all. It's just a matter of like, when do I do it? I don't know. But I also don't want to see like pigs getting boned in the buttocks. Like, no thanks.
There's never a correct headspace. You can't be in the right headspace to watch Black Mirror, I think, which is like, I think one of the reasons I haven't watched like a full season of it in a long time is because it's oftentimes very hard to want to sit down and watch it. That doesn't mean it's not good TV, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's innovative, and I think it's, yeah, the pig episode is brutal though. They're really throwing heaters right off the bat with this show. I mean, that's the first episode, and it's just, yeah, pretty intense. So anyways, June 15th, as I said, June 15th this comes out. So basically a week after this episode comes out, you'll be able to go and watch Black Mirror if you are a Black Mirror fanatic. Let us know what your favorite Black Mirror episode ever is on Twitter. Again, at OWLeagle86, at Online Warriors 1, at OW Techtic, at OW Nerdbomber. I think my favorite one is probably Shut Up and Dance, which again also is just like horrifying, but in a very entertaining way. So we're going to get into What Are You Up To Wednesday now, before we talk about what we've been up to for the past week of time.
What are you up to?
Wednesday.
Thank you.
Techtic, that was so beautiful that I'm going to turn it over to you first. Good luck.
Oh man, have I had a week.
OM gosh.
Woo.
Let me tell you. And it was really with these a lot of it was with these knuckleheads here.
Are you talking about us, or are you gesturing to other knuckleheads that are nearby?
Use guys.
Just to clarify.
So we play in a volleyball league together, the three of us and some
It's a
other
fun
folks.
fact about us.
And
We're very good, by the way.
I learned the danger of alcoholic slushies. Never had one before. And
That's not true. You've had wine slushies. Don't lie to the people.
wine slushies are very different than alcohol slushies. These are two different games. And I had 2 of these and I promptly blacked out. Apparently we went to a car wash that I was enamored with.
You didn't black out. You were there. You remember. You were just...
It was one of those,
nauseous.
when you tell me the story, I'm like, oh, yeah, kind of situation. Trust me, I was gone. And so we went to a car wash that I was enamored with. I ate raw onions, which was gross, but like, hey, ain't no thing. And then I promptly vomited a week's worth of food out. So I guess the lesson to be learned here is take alcoholic slushies with a grain of salt, or with extreme caution.
With water and lots of food and... caution.
Yeah, and don't eat raw onions too to chase them down. That was a mistake. And my slushie was margarita, which has tequila in it. And for those of you who know how tequila makes you, the answer is not smooth when you have onion breath. So avoid that whole situation. Another fun thing that I want to talk about that we did is Nerdbomber and I went to a baseball game. And that is just, and I've talked about this in like secret segments and things like that. Summertime baseball games are the best. Meet up with some friends or just go by yourself. When the weather's nice, you could watch a game, get a ballpark frank and some peanuts and Cracker Jacks, and I don't care if they never come back.
You don't care if who never comes back.
They.
Okay, I was just checking to see if you even knew. I don't even know who they are in the song. I've never really known. I guess it's the home team or the other team. One of the teams.
I thought it was the person fetching them peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Because they go, buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if they never come back.
But I do care because I want the peanuts and the Cracker Jacks. So it's a very confusing premise for the song.
Well, because then they pivot to rooting for the home team. They've moved on from the peanuts and Cracker Jacks. Follow us on Twitter and let us know what you think.
It's an existential question that I simply do not have the brainwaves for right now. Yeah, the main reason to go to a baseball game is the food. That's my input here.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, the baseball is a fun time as well. I watched the baseball.
I ate 2 massive Italian sausages in this one game.
Yeah.
Our home team did not win, but it was still a good time to be had by all.
And a roast beef sandwich.
The thing that was very confusing for me is, so I burn easily out in the sun, right? And I thought I did a decent job of putting sunscreen on, covered my face, thought I covered my arms. Apparently, I only really put sunscreen on one arm because my other arm looks like a lobster. And I did obviously the one arm that I clearly put something on, I got burned a little bit, but the degree of burn from one arm to the other is just ridiculous. And make sure you evenly apply that SPF, folks.
I was too nice to her on this day. I wasn't throwing enough shade.
Okay, I see what you did there. SPF 50, guys. Don't play around. Just go 50 at all times.
Don't play around. Well, that's what I did. It's just, I guess I didn't spread it in or rub it into the one arm. I don't understand.
Well, fun. Nerdbomber, you want to go next?
Sure. So we started watching on Apple TV Plus. We finished Ted Lasso. I don't know if Illeagle finished Ted Lasso.
I did. We could talk about it if you want. I didn't. Season 3 wasn't good. The last episode was fine. Season 3 as a whole was not good. So I'm trying to give Ted Lasso the silent treatment right now because I think it deserves it.
I think without going into spoilers, I think the finale did as good of a job as it possibly could wrapping up the discombobulated season 3 that we got.
I think you're right about that. I think that's true. It was too far gone at that point for me to be saved.
I didn't hate season 3. It just, compared to seasons 1 and 2, it did not hold up. And obviously we need Bill Lawrence, right? That's the guy?
It is the guy and the shrinking guy. Shout out to Bill
Yeah,
Lawrence. That guy rules.
You need him around, I think. So if they do a Ted Lasso spinoff, they should make sure that he is involved because they need him desperately. But we also started watching Plutonic, which is the Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne show. It just came out. There's only, I think, like 5 episodes available at the moment. But essentially, they're old friends. They were like besties. And then, you know, they had a falling out. And probably like 10, 15 years later, they reconnect and they're at very different points in their lives. Seth Rogen is I think he owns a brewery. I can't say that word very well.
He does,
but
yeah. I haven't watched the show. I've seen the trailer.
Yeah. And Rose Byrne plays a ex-lawyer / now stay-at-home mom. And like I said, very different points in their lives, but, you know, they kind of reconnect and get into shenanigans together. And honestly, so far, I am enjoying it. I think it's pretty funny. I chuckle a decent amount for a 27-minute episode. And
I think it looks good.
I don't know. I'm enjoying it. Yeah.
I'm kind of interested. Seth Rogen, that dude, I could watch him watch paint dry and I'd probably think it was funny. He's just one of those people to me that I think he's very naturally funny. So I'm vaguely interested.
I think you would enjoy it. You should probably give it a whirl. I mean, they're short episodes, and so there's not a whole lot to lose here.
Which is what Shrinking had going for it. It's one of the things Shrinking had going for it. So that's a strong sell. We're thinking, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna pass the ball back to you. I don't want to hijack your update, but we're thinking about watching. We haven't started it yet, but we're thinking about starting Silo. So that might be our next thing.
Dude,
totally different.
I'm holding out until
the other show, but yeah.
I'm 100% going to watch that. I'm holding out until all of the episodes are out because I loved the book. Like, I loved the Silo series of books, and I've been very anxiously awaiting this show. So I need it all to come out so I can just like binge.
Which I've never read the books, so I don't know if I'm doing the wrong thing, but I also kind of don't care. I think I'm just going to do it.
Honestly, it's not that long of a read.
I'm already. I got a
should.
fat book stack already. It's too far down the line.
All right, that's fair. And the other show, so we gave Animal Control a second go, and I know we had kind of said that we're just like lukewarm.
I hate that it's getting better.
Yeah, it got better. We have this thing where on weekend mornings, Techtic makes these wonderful bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwiches. But like, you don't want to get invested in a long
Thanks
show.
for the invite, guys.
Well, I mean, if you want to come over when we're in our jammies and we just woke up and have stank breath.
It's a sleepover exclusive.
But he does this on weekend mornings. But the thing is, like, you don't want to sit down and watch like an hour-long show. You want to get your day started. So we usually go for short shows, but we've kind of like exhausted a lot of the short sitcoms, and How I Met Your Father wasn't back yet. It is back now, but there's only a couple episodes. And we'd finished Shrinking, so we're like, okay, we need something. So we went back to Animal Control, and god darn it, it got better. Like, it's still not really, it's not like on the level of Parks and Rec and like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is clearly what it's trying to be, but it's definitely getting better. And now I kind of want to watch season 2 whenever that comes out.
See, my wife and I...
So I guess I owe them an apology because the first 2 episodes I was just like, this sucks. I don't want to watch it, but it does get better.
My wife and I don't subscribe to the philosophy of let's watch a short show and then get our day going. We're like, what if we lost the day to watching hour-long dramas all day? And then we do. And it's really good.
I mean, hey, you do you. If that works for your lifestyle, we get into that in the winter. That's pretty much what we do. Like, we'll wake up, we'll sleep in the winter. Like, summertime, we get up a little bit earlier, around like 9-ish, which for some people, I know that's late. For us, that's like a good time. During the winter, I will sleep until almost noon. And then we will waste the day away watching hour-long shows.
Shout out to ER, which I'm still watching. That's not part of my update, but I'm going to be watching it for the next forever because it's got 100,000 episodes.
Yeah, it's super
pretty easy to lose yourself.
But yeah, that's pretty much my massive update. I finally finished the second Outlander book. That also got better with time. The beginning was a little dry, but then it picked up. I'm going to take a break from the series for a little bit, though, because now we're getting into like Kindle pool season because I need the waterproofing. So stay tuned.
Cool. I have a 2-pronged update, but at the middle of the prongs, there's a core idea, which is that routine is great, and sometimes things that are tried and true are tried and true for a reason, and you shouldn't change them. Prong 1, Metroid Prime Remastered. I've started it. I'm almost halfway through the first game. I'm basically halfway through the first game. It is as fantastic as it's ever been. I have zero regrets. I'm going to play the whole 3 games all the way through, try and get as close to 100% items and scans as I can. It's amazing. I'm living my absolute best life right now with this Dead Space remaster and now the Metroid Prime remaster. Video game wise, I'm on cloud 9. The other thing I've done is I've started a book. Some may remember a while back on the podcast, I mentioned a book called The Word is Murder, which is a murder mystery in which the author inserts himself into the story. So the author, Anthony Horowitz, famously known for the Alex Rider series of books, which I read when I was younger. They're like children's novels. He now does some Sherlock Holmes kind of writing, and he has a series called Hawthorne Investigates, which is this series, and this is the second book in the series, in which he, the writer, Anthony Horowitz, is basically writing about his life, but part of his life is basically following this detective around as he solves cases and writing books about him. So the book you're reading is the book that he has written, basically. It's kind of meta, but the murder mystery itself is like extremely traditional. There's clues dropped along the way. It's kind of old-fashioned. I think Knives Out almost. It's like old-fashioned, but with a fun twist kind of baked into it, and it's super enjoyable. I'm already more than halfway through it. I started it last week. Summer reading season, so I'm sure I'll be done with that in the next week or so. And just living my best life. No complaints whatsoever at this point. And I'm about to beat Nerdbomber in a quiz. So that's also a nice feather for my cap. Manifesting. So, Techtic, I'll turn it over to you to take on hosting duties for this week. But before I do, let me give a brief score update. Techtic 6-4, myself Illeagle 86, 5-7. Nerdbomber 4-8. Steven 3-0. Steven on a hot streak. So Nerdbomber, it's not quite must-win situation yet. We're heading in that direction. So take it away, Techtic.
All right. So this week's topic is Capybara Trivia.
Capybara.
Don't know a thing about capybaras. I thought they were capybaras. Is it capybara or capybara?
Picture a guinea pig times 10. Inside.
Yeah, I know what they look like generally, but I'm just saying I'm going in otherwise completely blind on this one. So, Nerdbomber, this is your chance, I think.
All right. So, how much can an adult capybara eat per day? And the unit of measurement will be in pounds.
How much can they eat? I mean, you can eat as much as you want. Like, there's no limit. How many pounds? It's a lot. It's a lot, guys. It's like 50 pounds. It's going to be shocking.
By the way, they're eating grass.
Fine, 50 pounds of grass. I stand by it.
I mean, they're basically, how heavy is grass?
It doesn't matter because the unit's in pounds.
I get that, but I'm trying to think of like the volume versus weight.
So you want to know density.
Yeah. I'm gonna half that. I'm gonna say 20.
Okay, so how much do you think your massive salad weighs that fills you up completely?
I have no idea, but that's all they eat.
It's a capybara. It could be. They're not human. They don't eat salads. They eat grass.
An adult capybara can eat 6 to 8 pounds of fresh grass a day.
Yeah, sweet.
So you both got that
busted.
wrong.
Yeah.
Starting off
That's
strong.
fine. I accept the outcome.
All right. Now that we've established that you guys have no sense of how much
I don't know a
weigh,
thing about capybaras.
What is the average weight of a capybara?
Well, I was just told they can eat up to 6 to 8 pounds a day. So
Okay, so they're almost like the size of a little dog, but like a little dog. Maybe like a medium-sized dog. They're basically giant guinea pigs almost. I'm going to say they're like 40 pounds.
see, I think so. Okay, let me walk you through my reasoning here. I said 50 pounds for the last question because I was like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And then you said 6 to 8 pounds, which is still a lot relative to their body weight, which is a mere 10 pounds.
All right. So Nerdbomber gets this one.
Yes.
Capybaras can weigh anywhere between 77 and 150 pounds, making the average weight 113 and a half pounds.
Okay, so they are big puppies.
Big puppers. So with that said, how old is the first evidence of capybaras?
Capybara bones or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, this is an old number.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we got to be talking Jesus times here.
And I basically want your answer
boy.
in blank years
Pre-Jesus.
ago.
Blank years ago. Oh, that changes everything. It's a lot, guys. 6,000 years ago.
I feel like it's more than that. I'm going to use my strategic +1 here and say 6,001, but I feel like it could go back millions. Like, I feel like they might be like cockroaches almost, much cuter, obviously, but like, I feel like these guys could have been around with the dinosaurs. I don't know.
Okay, what's your answer?
I said 6,001.
Okay.
I like to give some color commentary, entertain the people.
So the first evidence of capybaras can be dated back as far back as 80 million years ago.
Okay, so I shouldn't have used my +1, but I should have gone with my gut.
Yeah, I misplayed.
How fast can a capybara run?
In Neil Patrick Harris's
In
NPH?
meal? Patrick Harris's? Sure.
I feel like they're probably deceptively fast. And I feel like they can reach speeds up to 15 miles per hour.
See, this is tough because strategically I want to use the +1, but I feel like that's very fast. I'm going to use the +1 and say 16, but we might have both busted.
All right. We got ourselves a game. They can run up to 22 miles per hour.
I was close.
These little chonky suckers are hauling it.
Okay, so I need to get this right. And there's no more +1s. +1s are gone.
How long can capybaras hold their breath underwater?
What is the unit of measurement here?
In minutes.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is going to be obscene. Oh, God. I have no idea how long a capybara can hold its breath. 20 minutes. They could really get down there.
I feel like that's a really long time. I'm going to say 5 minutes. I feel like I might lose with this one.
When threatened, capybaras will jump into the water and hide beneath the surface. They can hold their breath for almost 5 minutes.
Holy moly,
Right.
Seriously?
Absolutely.
Almost 5. We both busted. Almost 5. I still lose.
So
Okay.
the moral of the story here...
That's not very it's not very impressive. It's not very impressive.
I mean, 150 pounds, 22 miles per hour. The moral of the story here is we're lucky that capybaras are herbivores because they would be killing machines.
Apex predators. Okay, well, hey, look at that. Nerdbomber moves to 5 and 8, and I move to, that's right, folks, 5 and 8.
It's all
so
tied
we have ourselves
up.
a little showdown. Techtic at 6 and 4, so he's 1 win ahead of us, but he also has significantly fewer losses. I guess he's hosted a lot of quizzes. That honestly makes sense when I think about it. So next week, the journey continues. In the meantime, we thank you all for joining us on this week's episode of the Online Warriors podcast. Go leave us a review at Apple Podcasts. Say hi to us on Twitter, handles previously mentioned. Follow us on Patreon. Subscribe to us on Patreon. Do whatever you want to us over at Patreon.
Well, there are some limits.
Have a conversation with
limits.
us. I mean, it's a digital space. There's only so much they can do.
You'd be surprised.
And above all, I implore you to stay safe and keep on podcasting.